What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today we'll be going game by game, talking about the running backs I'd be starting and sitting this week. If I don't answer your specific question, then you can just look at my exact rankings at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. So we will get into my take on all the running backs this week in a second. But first, of course, have to start things off as usual. Stat of the day. Yesterday's stat was which receiver with at least 25 receptions boasts the league's best catch rate. This is counting wide receivers and tight ends. The answer is Dalton Schultz. Brian Paramus was the first to get that right on YouTube, and at Frederick Bongos was the first to get that right on Twitter. Taste that. Last week, what running back scored the most half PPR points without scoring a touchdown? So didn't score a touchdown, most half PPR points. Okay, so let's talk about some running backs. First up, we've got Dolphins traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Probably not a great game from like an NFL viewership standpoint, and it's honestly not that great in fantasy either, but we've got some running backs that we can definitely start. For the Dolphins, actually this game has a 45.5 point total. That's like slightly below average. 3.5 point road favorites for the Dolphins, so they're the better team. Not expecting the Jaguars to win, but this is one of the more winnable games for Jacksonville. Playing at home, Dolphins aren't exactly, a powerhouse. It's going to depend on Tua. Is he playing? But Jacksonville could win this game. So for the Dolphins, again, like I kind of alluded to, somewhat depends on Tua. If he's able to play, that obviously is a boost to the offense. And if the offense is doing better, the offense is scoring more points, well, that's good for the running backs as well. Gaskin is the only one that you can really consider, with them being favorites against a Jacksonville defense that has allowed over 120 rushing yards per game, over 30 actual points per game. They're not a good defense, and so I think Gaskin, after his really nice week last week, should be viewed as a low-end running back too, with definite upside, and you're not and have never been starting Malcolm Brown, you're not starting Salvin Ahmed. Gaskin's the only one you could really be considering here. And for the Jaguars, pretty easy. We're always starting James Robinson. Next up, we've got Bengals at Lions. This game has a very average 47.5 point total. The Bengals are 3-point road favorites. For the Bengals, depends on the status of Joe Mixon. He played 19 snaps last week, so not even close to a full snap share, but he did still get 11 touches, so when he was in the game, they were using him, did score the touchdown, so I guess it wasn't a zero in fantasy. You have to imagine that he's more healthy this week, unless he suffers a setback. Hasn't yet as of recording this, but if he suffers a setback, obviously that's a bad thing. Assuming that he can approach maybe like a 60% snap share, then I think he would be a must play. This is a really, really good defense, and you wouldn't be playing Pirine, you wouldn't be playing Evans behind him. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to know those exact details, how much he's going to play, until later on Friday, into Saturday night. Maybe we get a Scheffner tweet on Saturday night. And so you're just going to have to watch the rankings on this one. I'll try and figure out exactly how much I expect him to play, how much that impacts the entire team, and I'll adjust the rankings accordingly. But yeah, I mean, I would say that if Mixon's out there, we'd expect a larger snap share than last week, which would be a downgrade to these other two, and you probably would not be playing them. Unless you're like a 16-team league, you kind of have to. For the Lions, Swift is, of course, a must-start every week, but this is not a bad spot for Jamal Williams. He's gotten 14 or 15 touches in 3 straight weeks, and the Lions are only 3-point dogs. So this is kind of like with the Jaguars. It's like, hey, if the game's only projected to be within 3, that's a winnable game. And so this is a winnable game for the Lions. And, if they're ahead, it's obviously a good thing for the running backs. They can lean a little bit more towards the run. And this is not, it's a low total, but it's not like an awful total. And the team total is not that bad because, again, it's only a 3-point spread. If it was a 47.5 point total and it was a 10-point spread, we'd be like, no, like Lions players have very little touchdown upside. Only a 3-point spread. They could score some touchdowns here, and so Jamal Williams could absolutely score. The Bengals do have a very strong, I don't want to say it's an elite run defense. They have a strong run defense, but I would say Williams can be used as like a very low-end running back too, maybe better as like a second flex play. He's going to be in that running back like 30-35 range, and so he's not a running back too, but if you have buys, if you have injuries, then it's not a bad play as a low end too, as long as you understand he's probably going to be in that 14-15 touch range. Not overly likely to score a touchdown, not overly likely to have a million receptions, but it's possible, So I don't think he's a bad play at all. He'll get decent volume, which is more than you can say about a lot of running backs. Next up, we've got the Vikings at the Panthers. This game has another average 46.5 point total. The Vikings have moved to 1 point road favorites after opening as 1.5 point road underdogs. But basically, this game is very, very close to a pick 'em. For the Vikings, kind of depends on the status of Dalvin Cook. I don't see why they would play him. Even if he's 80%, you go on bye in week 7. So if he's not 100%, which there's no way he's going to be 100%, why would you not rest him this week and make sure that he's 100% post-bye? That's what I would do if I was the Vikings, but I'm not the Vikings, and so we'll just need to wait and see what they plan on doing. If Cook ends up being active, then I would say you probably have to play him, since it's got to mean they have some level of confidence. They're not going to make him active and have him go out there and get 5 touches, clearly still injured. If he's still injured, I don't expect them to throw him out there with the bye coming the next week. So if he's active, you're probably going to be playing him, and you're probably benching Madison. But then, of course, if Dalvin Cook is inactive, you have to play Madison. He's going to be like a top 10 play. For the Panthers, very similar story. The latest report that I have seen, you guys again are in the future from me, so you may have seen another report that's more accurate. I've seen the latest. He's 50-50 to play. I don't expect us to know for sure until Saturday night, or maybe not until Sunday morning. But this is, the exact same situation we just talked about. If Christian McCaffrey is active, it means he's good to go and you are playing him. If he is inactive, you're playing Hubbard. But I'll say, let's say Dalvin Cook is out and McCaffrey's out. Madison is a much better play than Hubbard is. But I would say that both of them are guys you're probably going to want to get in your lineup if their starting running back is inactive. Texans at Colts is up next. This game has a pretty low 43.5 point total. Colts are 9.5 point home favorites, so that means there are not very many projected points for the Texans in this one. And the Colts are now the largest home favorites of the week. The Texans just continue fading that backfield, not worth going over. For the Colts, you're always playing Jonathan Taylor. Hines is mostly only playable in negative game scripts. He could obviously score in any matchup, but he's going to get the most touches, the most opportunities when they're trailing, when they're down by multiple scores. In their 2 losses by multiple scores this season, he's averaged 7.5 carries, 5.5 receptions per game. And the other 3, he's only averaged 3 carries and 1 reception per game. So this is a game script we're not expecting the Colts to get down by multiple scores, and so you're probably leaving Hines on your bench, even in a full PPR league. The Texans are awful, though, and so could he score? Yeah, it's just a little bit of a thin play. Hopefully you're not in my situation. So in my 14-team league, I've got Kamara on bye, and I've got injuries to running back, so I have to play Marlon Mack at running back too. This isn't an awful spot, since if the Colts get up by 2 touchdowns, it's definitely possible they don't want to just keep feeding Jonathan Taylor, and they give Mack 7 to 8 carries. It's all I'm asking for the Colts to do. Just get me some points. I'm not expecting to win that matchup, so it really doesn't matter. I've got way too many people on bye this week, which is odd because there's only 4 teams on bye, but it seems like my whole team is, or at least all my good players are. But regardless, you should not be like me. Don't play Hines. Don't play Marlon Mack unless you are extremely desperate, which is unfortunately a situation that I find myself in a league this week. So next up, we've got Rams at Giants. This game has a 48.5 point total. Rams are 9.5 point road favorites. I expect that line to maybe change if Daniel Jones is active, but it would only be to 7.5, 8.5. I think it would be closer than a 9.5 point spread, but just wait and see on that one. The Giants are still very unlikely to win this game with all the injuries that they have, and with the Rams being the Rams. They're a really, really good team. For the Rams, Henderson's clearly back. He finds himself in a great matchup. He's a massive favorite. The Giants have a pretty bad run defense, 26th in rush defense TVOA, 27th in yards per carry allowed. So you're playing Henderson this week, and Stoney doesn't get enough volume when Henderson's not hurt to be worth starting. So it's only Henderson for the Rams. For the Giants, Saquon is obviously not going to play this week. Hopefully he's back soon, but he's not going to play this week. And so you're left with Booker. The Rams have, I'd say, league average run defense, but the Giants are only projected to score 19.5 points. So that's not great if you're Booker. He is pretty likely to be featured though, so even though his touchdown chances are a little bit lower, he could mix in for some receptions. He'll get a decent amount of carries, and so volume trumps everything. And so I think he's like a quality play at running back too. Next up, we've got Chargers at Ravens. This should be maybe not the best game of the week, but it's got to be a top 3 game this week, and it might be. It's the one I'm at least most excited to watch. Lamar going up against Herbert, 2 superstars at this point, and both these guys are absolutely incredible. This game could end up like the Browns and Chargers last week. That's asking a lot, for both teams to score into the 40s, but regardless, I don't think this game will disappoint. I think we're going to see some fireworks at least at some point, and so it should be really fun to watch. Has a 52.5 point total, and the Ravens are 3-point home favorites, meaning Vegas thinks that they are identical. 3 points is typically what a home team's going to get, and so it's a very even matchup. Should remain close, should be high scoring, should be great to watch. For the Chargers, starting Eckler, we're not starting any other running back. For the Ravens, it's kind of odd, usually in this sort of spot as a home favorite and really high total game, you're just like slamming Ravens running backs into your roster. I don't know that you can start any of them. I mean, Latavius Murray would be the only one I'd consider starting, but then you've got at least last week they made Bell inactive, so they had Williams and Freeman as the backups, and those were the ones getting targets. So it was more Freeman, but a little bit to Williams in the receiving game, nothing really to Murray. And so if Murray's not getting receptions, he's still losing carries to not only the running backs, but of course Lamar Jackson. It's like no one has upside. They're going to have to score. And when you're relying on your touchdown to absolutely have to score to even be viable as a 2, it's not a great spot. So again, Murray is the only one I'd play. If you're in a 14-16 team league, totally fine because the total's high. He could definitely score a touchdown. He's the favorite to score a touchdown in this backfield. 10-12 team leagues, I don't know. I hope you have a better option. He's not that great of a play this week. Next up, we've got Packers at Bears. This game has seen its total drop down to 45 points, likely because both teams are willing to play slow. Especially the Packers are absolutely willing to play very, very slow, even in games that they're trailing at times. They're a team that likes to play slow. They'll go run heavy if they need to when they're winning, and we know the Bears prefer to go run heavy. So we could see a game that has much fewer plays than most people are expecting, and that's why the total probably has been dropping. Packers are also only like 4.5 point favorites, which also kind of indicates that, right? If we were expecting a really high total game, we would expect the Packers to be pushing the ball, to be scoring much more efficiently than the Bears, and that lead would expand. But with a lower total game, you're going to have a closer spread because the Packers might only score 24 points, and you could see a game that's like 20-24 for the Packers. For the Packers, though, we're always starting Aaron Jones, no discussion needed there. A.J. Dillon has seen his most snaps in back-to-back weeks now, and he's averaging 11.5 carries, 2.5 receptions per game in those 2 games. He's by no means a must-start, but if that level of volume continues on this good of an offense, he'll be viable as like a low-end 2 and deeper formats. But again, I'm probably not playing him in like a 10 or a 12-team league unless you've got probably your starting 2 running backs if they're hurting on bye, and now you're moving to your 3rd and your 4th running back. Now he's fine at running back too. But if you don't have buys, you don't have injuries, you should probably be playing someone better than Dillon. This isn't a fantastic spot. The Bears do still have really good defense overall. For the Bears, don't let their touch totals for the backfield last week make you overconfident. Like I said, this could be a very low volume game for both teams, but especially for the Bears since they're projected to lose. They ran the ball 37 times last week. That is simply not going to happen against the Packers this week unless we see something crazy happen with they would probably need the Packers to just fall apart on offense and then to get a defensive touchdown and just sustain really long drives, and it doesn't feel overly likely. Herbert did out-snap and have more carries than Williams, but I think that was more game script related. Herbert he was a 0 last week. He's not known as being a pass catching back, so he's not someone they're scheming looks to. And so if the script is flipped and we have the Bears trailing, which again is likely in this one, it's more likely that Williams wins the snap count, has more targets, is used more overall than Herbert is. Again, I'm projecting a game script where they are trailing, and since Herbert isn't used in the receiving game, I think more likely expectations is like 8 to 10 carries for Herbert. Maybe he gets a target. Maybe he lucks into two of them. And then a more realistic expectation for Williams is in that like 13 to 14 carry range, 3 to 4 targets. That makes Williams viable at running back 2, not a must play, but like a decent play at running back 2. And Herbert is probably someone you should leave on the bench, even though he played pretty well last week. Again, they're not going to run that many run plays. They're not going to have that many run plays. And so don't get overconfident and be like, oh, he's going to have 18 carries again. That's relatively unlikely. Next up, we've got Chiefs at the football team. This has the highest total of the week at 55.5 points, and the Chiefs are 7-point road favorites. This is a game with two defenses that, at least one defense that people were very excited about to start the season, the football team, and a defense in the Chiefs that historically, they've had their moments playing really well. It's more come at home, but no one thought that they would just be dreadful. And the Chiefs' defense has been awful. The football team's defense has been awful. That is why we have a game with the football team that has a 55.5 point total. Usually, they're in more lower scoring games, but both these defenses are letting up points left and right, can't stop anyone. And both their offenses have the ability to score quickly and score consistently. So we should see a high scoring game here. For the Chiefs, of course, Clyde is on the IR. He's done for a few weeks. And so unless they were to make a trade, they're going to be using Drell Williams and Jerick McKinnon. McKinnon is the favorite to lead the team on passing down to the running back position, but he also only has 3 targets and 1 carry in the season, so it's kind of tough to have any level of real confidence in him. Williams should be expected to have the higher snap share, to be used on some passing downs, to have a near complete share of the red zone work, and so he's obviously the one you'd prefer. So despite the fact, honestly, that I expect Kansas City to just throw it over and over and over again, I expect them to be like, listen, we have Patrick Mahomes, we're 2-3. This defense we're going against is overrated. Let's just chuck the ball. Let's just let Patrick Mahomes drop back and throw it over and over again. Despite that, I still think Williams is a quality running back 2 this week because he's got a really good shot of scoring a touchdown. And again, I've said the football team's defense has been very overrated this season. Both defenses, though, have been really, really bad. And so if this is a high-scoring game and Kansas City scores into the 30s, you got to think Williams has a good chance to score a touchdown. For the football team, I think Gibson is a must-start this week. Kansas City has allowed every single team that they've played to go over their implied total, and that's by an average of a touchdown per game. So if a team is projected to score 20 points, according to Vegas, on average against the Chiefs, they score 27. Okay, and every single team has beat their implied total. They're allowing 32.6 points per game, over 140 rushing yards per game. Again, this could be a track meet. You want to get these guys in your lineup. The thing with McKissick, I think he's more thin of a play. I think he's definitely fine. If you're in a full PPR league, 14, 16 teams, I think that's fine. The only issue is if you're in a 10 or 12 team league, you need Washington to get down by multiple scores. If they're only down by 1 score, they're going to keep using Gibson. They're going to keep moving the ball normally. And McKissick doesn't get enough volume, doesn't have enough of a touchdown chance to be worth it. But if they get down multiple scores, then McKissick's going to be really good and he's going to have a ceiling game. So you kind of have to judge your level of risk there. If you are desperate running back 2 and you need someone with upside, McKissick actually has upside in a full PPR league this week. He could have 7-8 receptions if Washington gets down. Just understand that if you're trying to play it safe, you only want 10 points from this spot. You don't need the upside. Usually we lean upside, but you don't need it. I mean, McKissick has a floor of 1, right? He could just have absolutely nothing this week. And so he's a very high variance play. I would prefer to go there in 14, 16 team leagues, not 10 and 12, but you can't because this game could turn into a track meet. Cardinals at Browns is up next. This game has seen its total plummet from 54 points down to 49.5 points. That is a huge drop, and the Browns are currently 3-point home favorites. I believe that's been stable all week. For the Cardinals, I view both their running backs as secondary plays. The Browns rank 5th in rush defense DVOA, 2nd in yards per carry allowed. Connor's only going to be viable if he happens to fall into the end zone, and Edmonds does need a lot of pass game work, which the Cardinals are projected to be trailing in this one, so could happen. But this isn't a defense I want to attack, right? I'd much rather play Cardinals running backs in games where we expect them to move up and down the field easily, and that's not going to be the case This week, Browns, really strong run defense, really strong defense overall, playing at home, so not really a spot I want to attack. Edmonds is definitely the better play. He's fine at running back too, but I'm not expecting like great things from either of them. For the Browns, same as always. Nick Chubb is a must start. Kareem Hunt is an excellent play at running back too. Raiders at Broncos is up next. This game has a 44-point total, and the Broncos are 3.5-point home favorites. For the Raiders, the only playable running back is Josh Jacobs, but this is a brutal spot. He's a road underdog in Denver. Jacobs has historically played very poorly under those circumstances. You do not want to play him as a road underdog. They're going to need to win the game for him to be viable. It'll be interesting to see how much volume changes with Gruden gone. Like, do they feature Jacobs? Do they start using Drake more? Do they run the ball more or less? Like, I don't really know what's going to happen. I think we're going to just have to watch this week and see what happens. A lot of possibilities, so definitely interesting to see. I do think you can play Jacobs at running back too, since Drake hasn't been involved recently. Just understand the floor is very low. They could all of a sudden start using Drake a ton in the receiving game, use him on third downs, use him on some early downs. We just simply don't know what's going to happen. And so Jacobs is a very high variance play, but the variance is more low, right? Like, it doesn't mean that his range of outcomes is huge to where he could be like the running back one this week. It's more that like his range of outcomes is huge because he's like way down here for a lot of them. So not a fantastic play, not someone I would like to play. I talked about him in the running back trade video. I'm just hoping that he has an awful game this week, and then we can target him aggressively in trades next week. For the Broncos, this is a good spot. Home favorites, Raiders have a below average run defense. They are a team that is willing to run the ball when they're ahead. Gordon's been a little bit banged up this week, so confirm his status on Sunday. If he's active, both can be played as like a running back two, but more of a low end running back two. If he is out, if Gordon is out, then you're going to want to be playing Williams. Like, Williams will pretty much be a must start at that point. He'd be a featured back, great spot, great upside, super high floor. Cowboys at Patriots is up next. This game is a 52-point total. It's risen from, I believe, 48, so going up a lot. And the Cowboys are 4-point road favorites. For the Cowboys, you're absolutely starting Zeke. Pollard can be played as like a low-end running back two or a flex play, but he's a low-floor running back two, and he's definitely going to need a touchdown this week to be worth the start. I would prefer to leave him on the bench. Like, New England doesn't have like a fantastic defense or anything, but a blowout isn't super likely to happen, and Pollard has much more upside in games where they're just blowing out the opponent. They can give Zeke more rest. They're moving the ball up and down the field. That's a little bit less likely to happen in this spot, and so I think he'll have a good week, not a fantastic week. For New England, I would personally bench everyone. Dallas ranks 8th in rush defense DVOA, 5th in yards per carry allowed. Damian Harris has been really bad this season. You have to think that they're going to start giving more work to Stevenson. It's not a situation that I really want to rely on, and so I'd prefer to just leave all of them on the bench. Sunday night game, going to be Seahawks at Steelers. This game has a very low 42-point total, I believe the lowest on the week, and the Steelers are 4.5-point home favorites. For the Seahawks, we'll have to see, if Carson is active. It's a really tough spot because you have to probably decide that at 1 o'clock. So hopefully we get more news on Friday. We get more news on Saturday night that kind of secures what is happening. If Carson is out, you probably want to be playing Alex Collins at running back two. If Carson is active, probably just benching everyone because he's not going to be featured. They're still going to give work to Collins, but it's not a good enough matchup. Road underdogs. Geno Smith at quarterback, and a low total game, and they'd be splitting, it wouldn't be worth it. So I would say, unless you're getting absolute confirmation that Chris Carson is 100% and going to be featured, you're just not playing him. It's simply not worth the risk. For the Steelers, always starting Najee Harris. Monday Night Football game, going to be one of the best games of the week. We're going to have Buffalo traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. This game is a 54-point total, and the Bills are 6-point road favorites. For the Bills, Moss is starting to run away with this backfield. He continues to dominate usage in the red zone, gets good usage in the receiving game, but now he's taking even more work on early downs between the 20s. He is a great play at running back two this week. Extremely high total game, favorite, below average Titans defense. He's on the Bills, so the touchdown chances are really high. Singletary is fine in deeper formats, but he should probably be left on benches in 10 or 12 team leagues. it's just he's losing so much work and he has no touchdown upside. There's like I don't know. I don't really want to play Singletary. And last but not least, the Bills have one of, if not the best defense in the league. But it doesn't matter. You are always playing Derrick Henry. So that is my breakdown of every single matchup this week. Remember, you can see my exact rankings and projections under every scoring format by just looking at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. And if you want more free content, I will be posting videos on my TikTok that don't go up on YouTube. So there's a link to that in the description box down below, or you can just search Nick Zylak into Discover. That, my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all enjoy. If you did, then how about hitting that like button? And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? But thanks for watching.